Asha grew up in a small, dusty village on the outskirts of the city, where the sun rose on cracked roads and flickering streetlights and set on rooftops strewn with laundry and stray cats. Her home was modest, a two-room dwelling she shared with her mother, her younger brother, and the memories of her late father, whose absence weighed heavily on her family. Despite the scarcity that defined their lives, Asha carried within her a spark fueled not by wealth or privilege, but by an unyielding desire to dream beyond the confines of her circumstances. From a young age, she had understood the world's harsh realities. Her mother worked long hours at a small tea stall, her hands worn from labor, her smile unwavering despite exhaustion. Her brother, barely 10, often helped deliver newspapers or run errands to contribute what little he could to their household. Asha, too, did her part, tutoring local children and assisting in small jobs to help cover bills. But even in the midst of hardship, she nurtured a dream that seemed impossibly large. She wanted to become a fashion designer. The idea had come to her unexpectedly a few years back, when she stumbled upon an old magazine someone had discarded near the market. Its glossy pages showcased gowns, colors, and textures she had never seen before. She traced her fingers over the images, imagining herself creating garments that would inspire others. At that moment, something inside her shifted. The boundaries of her village, the limitations imposed by her financial situation, and the skepticism of those around her seemed to fade away. In their place was possibility, vivid, bright, and tantalizing. Asha's family was supportive, though wary. Her mother often reminded her gently, "Asha, dreams are beautiful, but they do not pay for rice and lentils." Yet, Asha refused to be deterred. She spent nights sketching designs with whatever scraps of paper she could find, stitching small pieces of cloth together into rudimentary garments, and dreaming of a life where creativity could flourish without constraint. The flickering kerosene lamp in her room became a beacon of hope, illuminating her vision one drawing at a time. School, too, played a pivotal role. Though the institution was underfunded and lacked resources, it was a place of discovery for Asha. Her teachers noticed her diligence and her unique eye for design, often praising her sketches and encouraging her to participate in local art competitions. Winning small prizes brought more than accolades. They brought validation. They confirmed that her passion was not mere fantasy, but a talent that could one day transform her life. Yet, the journey was far from easy. Villagers whispered, sometimes kindly, sometimes dismissively, that Asha's ambitions were too lofty. "Why waste your time on dreams?" they asked. "It's better to learn a trade, get married, and secure your future." But Asha remained steadfast. Each comment, each skeptical glance, was fuel for her determination. She believed that her dream, no matter how improbable, was worth the struggle. Her first major opportunity came when a visiting teacher from the city organized a competition for young designers from rural areas. The prize was small, a modest stipend, and the chance to have one's work displayed in the city. But to Asha, it represented a lifeline. She threw herself into preparation with relentless focus, sketching tirelessly, experimenting with fabrics, and even salvaging discarded cloth from nearby markets to practice her techniques. Nights were long, hands blistered, eyes strained, yet she persisted. When the day of the competition arrived, Asha carried her creations carefully in a bundle, her heart pounding with a mixture of anxiety and hope. The city school was unlike anything she had ever seen, its halls wide and polished, the students impeccably dressed, the atmosphere buzzing with ambition and expectation. Asha felt small, out of place, acutely aware of her worn clothes and the simplicity of her designs compared to the polished entries of city students. Yet when she stepped into the room, she realized something crucial. Her designs were hers alone. They were infused with her imagination, her understanding of texture, color, and form, and the lived experiences of her life in the village. While others had access to resources, she had creativity born from necessity, resourcefulness, and sheer determination. She laid out her sketches, her hand-sewn samples, and her heart on the table, daring the judges to see beyond the simplicity and into the soul of her work. The judges, a panel of seasoned designers and teachers, were intrigued. They asked questions about her inspirations, her techniques, and her vision for the future. Asha answered with candor, speaking from the heart. She spoke of her village, her family, and the materials she had worked with, revealing a depth of creativity and resilience that impressed the panel. By the end of the session, she had left everything she had in her presentation, uncertain whether it would be enough, but proud of her courage. When the results were announced, Asha's heart raced. Though she did not win the top prize, she received a special recognition award for ingenuity and originality. It was modest, but it was enough to catch the attention of a mentor, a visiting designer who saw in her raw, untapped potential. The mentor approached her after the ceremony, offering guidance, resources, and even the chance to train under her tutelage in the city. That moment changed everything. Asha's dream, once distant and hazy, began to feel tangible. She realized that talent alone was not enough. Courage, perseverance, and the willingness to seize opportunities were equally important. She also learned the value of mentorship, of finding someone who believed in her vision and could provide guidance in navigating the unfamiliar terrain of ambition. Returning to her village that evening, Asha felt a mixture of exhilaration and trepidation. She had glimpsed the possibilities beyond the dusty streets she had always known, yet she also understood the sacrifices that lay ahead. The path would be fraught with challenges, financial strain, societal expectations, and the daunting realities of pursuing a career in a competitive industry. But for the first time, she felt that her dream was within reach, and she carried a newfound sense of purpose. That night, under the dim glow of the kerosene lamp, Asha sketched designs with renewed vigor. Each stroke of the pencil was infused with hope, each seam sewn with determination. She understood that her journey had only just begun, that the road ahead would demand resilience, ingenue, and an unwavering belief in herself. And in that quiet room, surrounded by scraps of fabric and the scent of home-cooked meals lingering from the kitchen, Asha Rao made a promise to herself she would not allow circumstance to define her destiny. Her journey had begun with a spark, a dream born in poverty, nurtured by perseverance and strengthened by courage. It was a journey that would take her far beyond the village she had always known, through challenges that would test her resolve and opportunities that would shape her future. Asha's story was no longer just about surviving. It was about aspiring, creating, and daring to dream, in a world that often demanded conformity. Little did she know, the path ahead would be as incredible as it was unpredictable, filled with mentors, rivals, triumphs, and heartbreaks. And through it all, one thing remained certain. One poor girl, with one big dream, was about to embark on one incredible journey. The city was unlike anything Asha had ever imagined. Towering buildings stretched into the clouds, the streets buzzed with vehicles honking incessantly, and neon lights illuminated corners she had never dreamed existed. Every sense was assaulted by the cacophony and vibrancy of urban life, and for a moment, she felt small, almost invisible, amid the throngs of people moving with purpose and urgency. Yet, as overwhelming as it seemed, the city also represented possibility, a tangible proof that dreams could extend beyond the limits of a village. Clutching her small bundle of belongings and her meticulously prepared sketches, Asha navigated through crowded streets to the modest studio where her mentor, Miss Leena Kapoor, awaited her arrival. Miss Kapoor was a renowned designer known not only for her impeccable taste, but also for her dedication to nurturing young talent. The moment Asha walked in, she felt both intimidated and inspired. "You must be Asha," Miss Kapoor said warmly, studying her carefully. "I've heard a great deal about your work. Talent like yours doesn't come often." Asha swallowed nervously. "Thank you, ma'am. I will do my best to learn and work hard." The days that followed were a whirlwind of learning, labor, and adjustment. The studio was a world of relentless activity. Fabrics of every texture and color littered the tables. Sewing machines whirred incessantly, and assistants moved quickly to meet tight deadlines. Asha's skills, honed with limited materials in her village, were tested in ways she had never anticipated. Precision, speed, and an understanding of professional standards became essential. Each day she returned to her small rented room exhausted, her hands blistered from long hours of stitching, and her mind buzzing with technical knowledge, yet her determination never wavered. The initial weeks were humbling. Asha realized that raw talent alone was insufficient. In her village, resourcefulness had sufficed, but here she had to learn new techniques, master industrial sewing machines, and understand the subtleties of color theory and pattern design. She often felt the sting of comparison, seeing other trainees, some from affluent backgrounds with access to superior materials, create complex designs effortlessly. Doubt sometimes whispered in her ear. Was she truly capable of thriving in this world? But Asha had learned resilience long before she arrived in the city. She reminded herself of her purpose. Every stitch, every sketch was a step closer to her dream. When mistakes happened, she analyzed them meticulously, learning from them rather than succumbing to discouragement. And slowly her talent began to shine in ways that even the city could not ignore. Her mentor noticed. "Asha," Ms. Kapoor said one evening, reviewing a garment she had crafted under supervision, "you have something special. It's not just your skill, it's your vision. Most designers follow trends. You create them, even in these early stages. But remember, creativity must be paired with discipline and patience." Asha nodded, absorbing the advice. She understood that talent could take her far, but mastery required consistent effort, humility, and the willingness to adapt. She worked tirelessly, often staying late into the night, learning not just the craft but the business of fashion. How to present designs, communicate ideas to clients, and manage the practicalities of production. Despite her dedication, challenges persisted. Financial strain was constant. The stipend she received barely covered rent and meals. Many nights she survived on simple bread and lentils, pushing aside hunger to focus on her work. Loneliness, too, was a constant companion. The city was vast, and connections were difficult to form. She missed her family deeply, worrying about her mother and brother back in the village, and yet she reminded herself that her sacrifices were temporary. Investments in a future she hoped would bring pride and opportunity to her loved ones. Her first major assignment arrived 3 months into her training, a competition hosted by a prominent fashion magazine, offering the winner a chance to showcase designs at a prestigious fashion week. The task was daunting. Asha had never worked with high-quality fabrics, and the pressure to impress industry veterans was immense, but she recognized the opportunity as pivotal. This was her chance to prove that one poor girl could dream big and create something remarkable. She immersed herself in the project, sketching tirelessly, experimenting with fabrics, and seeking guidance from Ms. Kapoor. The long hours tested her physically and mentally, yet each challenge only strengthened her resolve. Mistakes became lessons. Critiques became catalysts for improvement, and every completed seam felt like a victory. Asha was learning that the path to success was rarely linear. It was a journey of persistence, adaptability, and relentless pursuit of excellence. As the competition day approached, nerves began to set in. Walking into the venue, she observed rows of participants, their designs polished and professional, their confidence radiating. For a moment, Asha felt intimidated. her insecurities bubbling to the surface. But then she reminded herself why she was here, the spark of a dream that had begun in a small village, nurtured by hardship and hope. She straightened her shoulders, her heart steady, and set up her work. The judges, a panel of experienced designers, scrutinized every detail: fabric choice, stitching quality, creativity, and presentation. Asha presented her designs with humility and confidence, explaining the inspiration drawn from her village life, the colors of the market, and the textures of everyday objects. She spoke of resilience, resourcefulness, and beauty found in simplicity, concepts that resonated deeply with the judges. When the results were announced, Asha's heart pounded in her chest. She did not win first place, but she received the special jury award for innovation and originality, a recognition that carried weight far beyond monetary value. One of the judges, a famous designer named Priya Malhotra, approached her afterward. "Your work is extraordinary," Priya said, eyes bright with admiration. "Most designers follow trends. You create stories. You have a gift, and I would like to mentor you personally if you're willing." Asha's chest swelled with pride and gratitude. This was a door opening, an opportunity she had worked tirelessly for. Tears welled in her eyes, and she nodded fervently. "Thank you. I will give everything I have to learn and grow." That night, returning to her small apartment, Asha reflected on how far she had come. From the dusty streets of her village to the vibrant, intimidating city, from rudimentary sketches to recognized designs, she had proven to herself that dreams could transcend circumstance. She knew the journey ahead would remain challenging. There would be critics, competition, and moments of doubt. But she also knew that determination, resilience, and belief in oneself could overcome even the most daunting obstacles. As she lay down to sleep, Asha allowed herself a moment of quiet triumph. One poor girl, with one big dream, had taken her first major steps on an incredible journey, and this was only the beginning. Asha's recognition in the competition brought her both admiration and challenges. While her talent had earned her respect, it also attracted scrutiny from peers who envied her originality and feared the fresh perspective she represented. At the studio, a few trainees who had previously ignored her now whispered behind her back, questioning how a village girl with limited resources could compete with those who had grown up surrounded by opportunities and connections. Asha heard the rumors, of course, but refused to let jealousy undermine her confidence. Instead, she focused on her work, letting her talent and determination speak louder than any words spoken against her. Her mentor, Miss Lina Kapoor, remained a pillar of support. "Asha," she said one afternoon, reviewing a set of preliminary sketches for an upcoming collection, "you must understand that competition is part of the journey. People fear what they cannot understand. Let them whisper while you create. The only opinion that truly matters is yours and those who believe in your work." Asha nodded, internalizing the advice. She had already learned resilience in her village, but the city demanded a new level of perseverance. Every critique, glance of doubt, became motivation. She spent long nights perfecting designs, experimenting with bold color palettes, intricate patterns, and unconventional fabrics. Her creativity thrived on constraints. Where others saw limitations, Asha saw opportunity. The breakthrough came when Priya Malhotra, the famous designer who had noticed Asha's work during the competition, invited her to assist on an exclusive fashion project. Priya's mentorship was transformative. She taught Asha about haute couture techniques, professional presentation, and the subtle interplay between art and commercial viability. For Asha, this was more than technical learning. It was immersion into a world that had once seemed unreachable. Working alongside Priya, Asha experienced the exhilaration of collaboration. She absorbed every detail of the design process, from conceptual sketches to fabric selection, tailoring, and final presentation. Priya pushed her boundaries, challenging Asha to take risks, refine her vision, and articulate the story behind her creations. With each day, Asha's confidence grew. She began to understand that true artistry was not just in the visual beauty of a design, but in the narrative it conveyed, the emotion it evoked, and the impact it could have on others. However, the journey was far from smooth. Rivalry at the studio intensified. A fellow trainee named Mira, talented but competitive, openly questioned Asha's techniques during workshops and subtly undermined her contributions during collaborative projects. Asha could have reacted with anger or resentment, but instead she chose patience and professionalism. She focused on mastering her craft, proving through results rather than confrontation that her work deserved recognition. The first major test of her skill and composure arrived when Priya tasked her with designing a centerpiece gown for an international fashion exhibition. The assignment was high stakes. The gown would be showcased to industry leaders, potential investors, and media from around the world. Failure was not an option, yet Asha felt the weight of both pressure and opportunity. She spent days conceptualizing, sketching, and experimenting with materials, determined to create something that reflected her roots, creativity, and personal voice. Late nights became routine. Asha meticulously hand-stitched delicate embellishments, blending traditional village patterns with modern silhouettes. She sourced fabrics from local markets, infusing the gown with textures and colors that told the story of her upbringing. Every stitch carried intention, every pattern reflected her vision. By the time the gown was complete, it was more than clothing. It was a testament to her journey, her perseverance, and the transformative power of creativity. On the day of the exhibition, nerves threatened to overwhelm her. The venue was a grand hall filled with glittering chandeliers, glossy floors, and the hum of industry elites. Asha adjusted her attire, took a deep breath, and reminded herself why she had come this far. As the gown was unveiled, it immediately drew attention. Judges and attendees marveled at the fusion of traditional craftsmanship and contemporary design, the intricate detailing, and the story woven into every fabric choice. The recognition was immediate and transformative. Asha was lauded for originality and emotional resonance, receiving accolades from designers, critics, and mentors alike. Her work was featured in magazines, discussed in interviews, and celebrated on social media platforms. This public acknowledgement marked a pivotal point in her career, validating years of struggle and sacrifice. For the first time, she felt that her dream was no longer a distant possibility, but an achievable reality. Yet, success brought new challenges, invitations, collaborations, and media attention required Asha to manage her time meticulously, balancing her creative work with public appearances and professional obligations. While exhilarating, this new world demanded a level of discipline and strategic thinking she had not yet experienced. She relied heavily on Ms. Kapoor's guidance, learning to navigate contracts, schedules, and networking without compromising her artistic vision. Meanwhile, Mira's rivalry escalated, manifesting in subtle attempts to claim credit or undermine Asha's contributions. Asha faced these moments with calm professionalism, refusing to engage in petty conflicts. Instead, she let her designs speak for themselves, earning respect through consistency, creativity, and integrity. She learned that true victory was not in defeating others, but in surpassing her own limits and staying true to her vision. Amidst professional triumphs and trials, Asha remained connected to her family and her roots. She sent money home regularly, supported her brother's schooling, and visited her mother whenever possible. Her journey was no longer just about personal ambition. It was about lifting those she loved, inspiring others in her village, and proving that determination and vision could overcome the most daunting obstacles. Asha also discovered the importance of mentorship beyond technical instruction. Priya encouraged her to mentor younger trainees and community members, sharing her story and skills to inspire others. Teaching became a source of fulfillment, reinforcing her belief that creativity and perseverance could ripple outward, impacting not just her life, but countless others. As the months passed, Asha realized that her journey was transforming her in ways she had not anticipated. The girl who once sketched designs by kerosene lamplight in a dusty village was now confidently navigating the world of fashion, earning recognition, and inspiring those around her. Her dreams, once fragile and distant, had taken tangible form through hard work, resilience, and unwavering dedication. The crescendo of Part 3 arrived when Asha was invited to present a full collection at a regional fashion week. This was more than an exhibition. It was a stage that could launch her career internationally. The preparation demanded every ounce of skill, creativity, and composure she possessed. With Miss Kapoor's guidance, she curated designs that honored her village roots while embracing contemporary aesthetics, weaving stories of hope, resilience, and cultural identity into each garment. On the day of the show, as Asha watched models glide down the runway wearing her creations, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Applause erupted, cameras flashed, and industry professionals approached her with praise and collaboration offers. It was a validation not just of her talent, but of the incredible journey that had brought her here. From humble beginnings to a stage where her voice, vision, and artistry could be celebrated by the world. That night, Asha returned to her small apartment, exhausted but elated. She reflected on the trials she had overcome, the mentors who had guided her, and the lessons she had learned. One poor girl, with one big dream, had taken her first steps into an incredible journey. Yet she knew the road ahead was long, filled with new challenges, opportunities, and lessons that would test her even further. Asha's story was no longer about survival. It was about ambition, creativity, and the relentless pursuit of a dream. Each triumph, each obstacle, and each lesson reinforced the belief that determination, resilience, and courage could transform even the humblest beginnings into extraordinary possibilities. The thrill of recognition and early success guided Asha through months of intense work, yet the path of ambition was never linear. Just as she began to feel confident in her abilities and place in the fashion world, unforeseen challenges emerged, threatening to shake her resolve. The first major setback came in the form of a failed collaboration with a prominent designer who had promised to sponsor her next collection. Excitement had turned to disappointment when the designer, citing financial constraints and last-minute scheduling conflicts, withdrew support entirely. Asha had already invested weeks of labor into sourcing materials, designing garments, and coordinating models. The loss felt like a blow, not only financially but emotionally, a test of how she could recover from sudden adversity. She felt the familiar pang of insecurity creeping in, the same doubts she had fought against when she first arrived in the city. Was she truly capable of sustaining her dream in a world so unpredictable and demanding? Even more disheartening was the subtle criticism from some industry peers. "She's talented, yes," they whispered, "but can she survive without backing and connections?" Asha overheard the remarks in moments of vulnerability, and while she had faced skepticism before, this time it carried the sting of reality. Yet rather than succumb to despair, she leaned into her resilience, drawing strength from the struggles of her past. She reminded herself of the village she came from, the nights spent sketching under dim light, and the sacrifices her family had made to support her ambitions. Her mentor, Miss Kapoor, offered guidance and perspective. "Asha," she said one evening as they reviewed alternative strategies, "the measure of a designer is not only in talent, but in adaptability. The world will not bend to your convenience. You must bend, adjust, and find ways to turn obstacles into opportunities." Taking this advice to heart, Asha reevaluated her approach. She contacted local artisans, smaller workshops, and independent fabric suppliers, seeking innovative solutions that would allow her to complete the collection without relying on external sponsorship. Nights turned into long stretches of creative problem-solving, She bartered for materials, reused fabric scraps in inventive ways, and even enlisted the help of fellow trainees who admired her dedication. What initially felt like a crisis became a test of ingenuity, patience, and unwavering determination. During this period, Asha also faced personal doubts. Loneliness weighed heavily. The city's bright lights and bustling streets contrasted starkly with the comfort of her village home. She missed her mother's voice, her brother's laughter, and the simplicity of familiar routines. Emails and video calls provided some solace, but nothing could replace the warmth and grounding she found in her family. Yet she realized that sacrifice was intrinsic to pursuing a dream. Each challenge, each moment of solitude, was part of the journey that defined her character and commitment. As the weeks progressed, Asha's perseverance began to pay off. The collection, though developed under constraints and with limited resources, emerged as a unique expression of her creativity. She blended traditional village motifs with modern silhouettes, creating garments that were both innovative and deeply personal. When she presented her work at a regional fashion showcase, the response was overwhelming. Critics praised her originality, highlighting the intricate craftsmanship, inventive use of materials, and emotional narrative woven into every piece. This success marked a turning point. Asha realized that setbacks, though painful, were opportunities in disguise. They tested her resolve, sharpened her creativity, and forced her to discover solutions she might never have considered otherwise. She learned that the path to success was rarely smooth. It required resilience, adaptability, and an unwavering commitment to one's vision. Amid professional trials, Asha also navigated interpersonal dynamics that demanded tact and diplomacy. Rivalries persisted, particularly with Mira, who continued to challenge Asha's place in the studio. At times, the tension escalated, with passive-aggressive comments and subtle attempts to discredit her work. Asha, however, remained composed, choosing to focus on excellence rather than confrontation. Her reputation grew, not through competition, but through the consistency and integrity of her craft. In parallel, mentorship opportunities expanded. Priya Malhotra invited Asha to conduct a workshop for aspiring designers from underprivileged backgrounds. Standing before a group of young girls and boys eager to learn, Asha felt a profound sense of purpose. Sharing her journey, her techniques, and the lessons she had learned reinforced her own understanding of the value of perseverance and vision. For the first time, she saw the ripple effect of her efforts, the way a single dream could inspire and empower others. Despite the triumphs, new challenges emerged in the form of media attention. Articles highlighting her rags-to-riches story painted her in various lights, sometimes inspirational, sometimes sensationalized. Asha struggled to balance humility with visibility, aware that public perception could shape both opportunities and pressures. She learned to navigate interviews with grace, emphasizing her work, her values, and the importance of persistence over superficial narratives. The crescendo of Part 4 came with an invitation to participate in an international fashion competition, a stage that could define her career globally. The assignment required creating a full collection on strict timelines, incorporating sustainable materials, and presenting a narrative that reflected cultural identity and innovation. The stakes were high. Failure could set back her career, but success could catapult her into the international spotlight. Asha threw herself into the project with unrelenting focus. She traveled to local markets to source sustainable fabrics, experimented with eco-friendly dyes, and collaborated with artisans to create handcrafted embellishments. Every garment told a story of struggle, hope, and creativity. Exhaustion was constant. Sleep became a luxury, and stress tested both her mental and physical endurance. Yet each completed piece was a triumph, a testament to her resilience and ingenuity. The day of the competition arrived, and Asha felt a mixture of anticipation, fear, and exhilaration. Her heart raced as she watched models showcase her collection to an audience of international designers, journalists, and critics. The designs were met with admiration. Judges were particularly impressed by the fusion of traditional craftsmanship with modern aesthetics, and the narrative embedded in each garment. Asha realized that every hardship, every setback, and every long night had culminated in this moment, a testament to the power of persistence, creativity, and unyielding belief in one's vision. By the end of the event, Asha received the jury's special award for innovation and storytelling, a recognition that validated not only her talent, but the incredible journey that had brought her here. She felt tears welling in her eyes, a mixture of relief, pride, and gratitude. From a dusty village to the international stage, one poor girl's dream had transformed into reality. And yet, she knew this was only a step in the larger journey ahead. That night, reflecting on her journey in her modest city apartment, Asha understood that success was not measured solely by awards or recognition. It was measured by growth, resilience, and the courage to continue despite setbacks. She had faced financial hardship, rivalry, doubt, and exhaustion, yet she had emerged stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. The dream that once seemed distant was now tangible, but it had come at a cost she was willing to bear for the promise of her vision. Asha Rao had become more than a designer. She had become a symbol of possibility. Her journey was proof that circumstances did not define potential, that creativity and determination could overcome scarcity, and that dreams, no matter how audacious, could transform into reality when pursued with courage and perseverance. As she drifted off to sleep that night, surrounded by sketches, fabric scraps, and the quiet hum of the city, Asha allowed herself a moment of pride. One poor girl, with one big dream, had weathered setbacks, navigated challenges, and reached heights she had once only imagined. And though the road ahead remained uncertain, full of new obstacles and opportunities, she knew that her journey, the incredible journey, was far from over. The months following the international competition were a whirlwind of opportunities and challenges for Asha. Her recognition opened doors to collaborations, exhibitions, and invitations to speak at creative forums. Yet amid the excitement, she remained grounded, remembering the dusty streets of her village, her mother's sacrifices, and the early nights spent sketching by kerosene lamp. Each success was a tribute not only to her talent but to perseverance, humility, and the lessons she had learned along the way. Asha's next milestone arrived when she was invited to present her first solo collection at the city's premier fashion week, a stage reserved for designers who had proven themselves both creatively and professionally. For Asha, the invitation was both exhilarating and intimidating. The stakes were higher than ever. International media would cover the event, industry veterans would scrutinize every detail, and the audience's expectations were immense. Yet, she embraced the challenge with the same determination that had carried her from her village to the city, and from small competitions to global recognition. Preparation consumed her days and nights. She meticulously planned the collection, blending bold designs with intricate details, inspired by the colors, textures, and stories of her childhood. Each garment carried symbolism, the resilience of her mother, the innocence of her brother, the vibrancy of village markets, and the dream that had carried her this far. Asha's designs told a narrative, a journey of struggle, hope, creativity, and triumph. Despite her skill and vision, doubts occasionally surfaced. Questions of adequacy, perfection, and public judgment lingered, whispering in quiet moments. But Asha had learned to manage fear. It was not a signal to retreat, but a reminder to prepare, refine, and persevere. With her team of mentors, assistants, and supportive peers, she rehearsed, refined, and perfected each piece, ensuring that the collection would reflect not only her artistic vision, but her dedication, integrity, and growth. The night of the fashion week arrived. Backstage, Asha moved among models, assistants, and designers, orchestrating every detail with a calm intensity that belied the storm of anticipation within her. The lights, the cameras, and the throngs of spectators created an electrifying atmosphere. Yet amid the grandeur, she found clarity. She reminded herself of why she had begun this journey, to transform a dream born in a humble village into reality, to honor the sacrifices of her family, and to show that talent, perseverance, and courage could defy circumstance. When the first model stepped onto the runway, wearing a gown that intertwined vibrant traditional patterns with contemporary silhouettes, the audience gasped. Each subsequent piece elicited awe, admiration, and emotional connection. Reviewers noted the innovation, storytelling, and technical mastery in her designs. The garments were more than fabric and thread. They were narratives of resilience, hope, and artistry that transcended social, economic, and geographic boundaries. By the end of the show, Asha received a standing ovation. Critics, designers, and attendees approached her to congratulate, offer collaborations, and express admiration for both her work and the journey that had led her here. The validation was overwhelming. It was not just recognition of talent, but acknowledgement of the courage, perseverance, and vision required to achieve such heights from humble beginnings. Amid the applause, Asha's thoughts returned to her village. She imagined her mother, her brother, and her neighbors witnessing this moment, even if only through stories, photographs, or calls. She felt pride not only for herself, but for those who had nurtured, supported, and inspired her. The journey was no longer just personal, it was shared, a testament to the power of hope, resilience, and dreams that dared to reach beyond limitation. In the following weeks, Asha's life transformed. Offers from international brands and designers poured in, yet she remained selective, committed to projects that aligned with her vision and values. She established scholarships and mentorship programs for aspiring designers from underprivileged backgrounds, creating pathways for others to follow the trajectory she had carved. Her work became a symbol, not of wealth or status, but of creativity, courage, and the extraordinary results that determination and vision could produce. Despite the professional whirlwind, Asha never lost her sense of self. She continued to visit her family, supporting her mother, guiding her brother, and staying connected to her roots. She knew that her success would be hollow without remembering where she came from, the struggles that shaped her, and the lessons learned along the way. The humility she carried became a hallmark of her character, inspiring colleagues, mentees, and admirers alike. Personal fulfillment accompanied professional triumphs. Asha had learned that true success was multifaceted. Recognition and achievement mattered, but so did personal growth, relationships, and the ability to make a positive impact. She cherished quiet moments of reflection, creativity, and connection with those who had supported her journey, understanding that happiness lay not solely in accolades, but in purpose, love, and contribution. Asha's story resonated far beyond the fashion world. Media outlets highlighted her journey from humble beginnings to global recognition, portraying her as an example of resilience, innovation, and the transformative power of dreams. Yet she remained grounded, emphasizing that her accomplishments were the result of perseverance, guidance from mentors, and the support of loved ones. Talent opens doors, she often said in interviews, but determination and belief in yourself are what carry you through. Dreams are only as powerful as the effort you put into them. In her personal reflections, Asha recognized the growth she had undergone. The girl who had once sketched designs by flickering kerosene light had evolved into a confident, skilled designer navigating global stages, inspiring others, and influencing the industry. She had learned resilience, adaptability, patience, and humility, qualities that no award or recognition could measure. The journey itself had transformed her, teaching lessons that extended far beyond fashion into the realms of character, leadership, and life itself. The culmination of her journey came when she returned to her village to host a small exhibition of her designs for local children, friends, and neighbors. Seeing the awe and admiration in their eyes, witnessing the spark of inspiration ignite in young minds, and feeling the pride of her family, Asha understood that success was truly meaningful when it was shared. The collection, displayed in a modest community hall, carried the same spirit that had defined her entire journey: creativity, courage, and the unwavering belief in the possibility of dreams. As Asha stood among the villagers, listening to their applause and laughter, she felt a profound sense of gratitude. Her journey had been incredible, not simply because of the accolades or recognition she received, but because of the lessons, growth, and connections forged along the way. She realized that every struggle, setback, and moment of doubt had been necessary, shaping the designer and person she had become. Looking toward the horizon, Asha knew that her journey was far from over. Fashion weeks, collaborations, mentorships, and personal projects awaited, each presenting new challenges and opportunities. Yet she was prepared, fortified by experience, vision, and the enduring belief that one girl, one dream, and unwavering determination could overcome any obstacle. That night, under the starlit sky of her village, Asha reflected on her path. From the dusty streets of her childhood to the glittering runways of international fashion, she had proven that dreams, no matter how audacious, could become reality. One poor girl, with one big dream, had embarked on one incredible journey, and in doing so, she had inspired countless others to dare, to create, and to believe. Asha Rao's story was now more than a personal triumph. It was a testament to the power of resilience, vision, and hope. It reminded everyone that where one begins does not dictate where one can go, that creativity thrives even in adversity, and that dreams, when nurtured with courage and determination, can transform lives, communities, and the world. As she drifted to sleep that night, surrounded by sketches, fabric, and the quiet hum of her village, Asha allowed herself a moment of contentment. She had achieved what once seemed impossible, yet she knew the greatest part of her journey was still ahead, continuing to dream, to create, and to inspire. One poor girl, one big dream, one incredible journey, and the world was now wide open.